So there comes a point in every filmmaker's life when this original idea and this original screenplay, this thing that you have really sank your time into, already exists. Well, it happens way more often than you think. It's happened to me. It's happened to every single person I know. This last year, I worked on about 150 commercials, at least a half a dozen music videos, and 2 or 3 feature films. I'll stay very busy this year, and consistently, I work with about 6 different production companies. And what will happen is I'll work with one production company and we'll finish a project. And by the time I'm done with that, I have another production company over here that are like, hey, we have a project we're wanting you to work on. So I'll come over here and work for them, whether I'm a writer or an actor, or a lot of times a cinematographer, because that's what I did mostly this last year, was cinematography work and a lot of editing. And it's a lot of fun, and it paid the bills and stuff like that. However, I decided that 2026, I'm going to focus primarily on my own projects. I'm going to start working on my own things. I have a couple of movies that started a couple of years ago that got put on the back burner because, we have to pay bills, you have to put food on the table, you have to keep the lights on. So I have started taking, freelance gig work, and I started working on everything from, commercials for building supply companies, for, the Bungee Fitness Factory, for Quality Building Supply. I started doing music videos with some of my friends out of Nashville and stuff like that. And one of the big things that I've gotten a lot of jobs in lately was PA work. Did a lot of production assistance. And so I've had a lot of friends reach out to me and like, hey, how can I do some PA work? Well, one of the best ways of trying to get into the industry is by being a production assistant, because being a production assistant gets your hands almost into every single aspect on set. And it's also one of the fastest ways of growing on set. And it's also one of the fastest ways of getting connected with everybody inside the industry and to be able to move up. It's also primarily, even in the union gigs, now there are some things, there's like a TV show right now, I think, that the unions are trying to organize to get production assistants in a union. But for the most part, it's still one of the most easily accessible options, to starter to get into a studio system or into the filmmaking industry, is by being a PA. So how do you become a PA? Well, there's lots of different options. And for me, I work mostly always on referrals. I don't have to audition. I don't have to put in an application or anything like that. And I don't really have to try to beg for work or go online or anything like that. But I've been in the industry pretty consistently since 2014. So I've made a lot of connections and a lot of friends and stuff like that. But typically what happens is because I have a lot of friends, or I'm connected with a lot of production companies who are working on something, if I see them post something or if they send me a message or something like that, one of the first things I do is just kind of volunteer my time. I just tell them, it's like, look, every no matter what budget is, whether it's high budget or low budget or no budget, you could always use an extra set of hands on set. You can always use somebody to move sandbags. You can always use an extra gaffer, which is somebody to set up lights. You always need a key grip. You need somebody to assist the gaffer. You need somebody who will help with the electrical setup, to set up the lights. You'll need somebody to do all that. And usually, especially in a low budget or no budget, in the micro budget world and stuff like that, with the independent films, there's always a need for an extra pair of hands. So, sorry, my dog's trying to hop on my lap, trying to say hello, wants to be in the video too. What do you want? What do you want? You're messing up the consistency of the video. Yes. Anyway, so, no, he's just gonna have to stand here. Anyway, so, yeah, so what I usually do is I'll reach out to him and be like, hey, look, I know you're working on this project. If you need an extra set of hands, give me a call. And 9 times out of 10, they always will. 1, because I've worked with them before. 2, because we have a pretty good built-in relationship. And 3, because I've worked with them consistently in the past and stuff like that, we have a relationship that's built. And because they know I'm available, they'll go ahead and reach out to me. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, if I do volunteer my time or my services or something like that, then I'll get hired on and come in as a PA. Now, for some of the bigger budget projects and stuff like that, again, an extra set of hands is always something that can be very useful and stuff like that, especially when they're setting up sets. And a PA, especially in the micro budget world, you can you get your hands in all sorts of things. I can't tell you how many times that I've come on there with absolutely no specific gig in mind. I'm not there to be the cinematographer, I'm not there to be the writer, and I'm not there to be an actor. But before you know it, like, not only am I moving sandbags or plugging in lights or helping with the makeup department or running out and going to get props or something like that, I'll end up running sound. I'll have to stand there running the boom pole. You have all these different departments, and in a micro budget world, or especially in the indie world, you have to wear many different hats, and you have to have multiple different talents. And so what will happen is a lot of times in these indie markets and stuff like that, if you come on as a production assistant, then you are literally assisting the production, and you're going to be doing a little bit of everything, and you get to learn the craft from all these different like areas and stuff like that. And it's a lot of fun. I love those. In fact, I prefer those over some of the bigger budget projects. But there are guilds in place that will do production assistant workshops. Nashville, like here we are in Tennessee, there's a Nashville Film Gig, our Film Guild. There's the Chattanooga Film Guild. And they post all the time. They have workshops at least once a month where different filmmakers or different actors will get together and offer these different workshops for different people so they can have a chance to learn something new in the craft, whether it's writing this month or next month it might be, cinematography or something like that. But a lot of them will offer production assistant classes. And I know you're probably thinking, it's like, well, what do you need to learn in some of these classes? Well, they'll teach you set etiquette. They'll teach you, some of the words and phrases that you'll commonly hear on set that you might not hear otherwise. You'll learn, 10-1, 10-2, copy that. They'll talk to you about set etiquette and terminology and, just basics of walkie-talkie, lock-ins, lockouts, stuff like that. And it gives you kind of a free understanding of what a production assistant does. And what happens is because a lot of these workshops are actually done by filmmakers and producers and directors and sometimes actors and stuff like that, is they already have connections. They're already doing those things. And so sometimes they'll bring in their students to actually work on different projects that they're working on. So a lot of times when they go through the workshop, they almost immediately have access through the doors to step into a film set. And so, like I said, Nashville Film Guild, the Chattanooga Film Guild, I think there's actually one in Knoxville, Tennessee. I think there's one also in Memphis. And yeah, just, look into your local film guild, which is, you're not part of the union. You don't have to join yet or nothing like that, but they are associated with the different filmmakers and groups and community. Like, I'm part of the TN film community, but I'm also part of the advisors, which is like a nationwide thing that we do. I'm also part of different groups like the Dinner with Dreamers and Breakfast for Creatives. About once a month, each one of these different groups will meet, and sometimes they offer workshops, sometimes they do panels and Q&As and different things like that. If you want to get into the industry and you want to find work as a PA, just start showing up to events like that. Red carpet events. If, let's say that Johnny Smith over here has made a movie. Now, I'm not in that movie. I had nothing to do with that movie. I didn't write it, didn't produce it. I had nothing to do with it. However, I'm just friends with Johnny on Facebook, and he says, hey, I'm doing a red carpet premiere. Well, it's kind of a win-win because now I'm going to get some exposure time. Like, me and him are friends, so now I'm going to go over there to support him for his film. So I'm going to go to the red carpet, but I'm also going to end up with social media pictures. I'm going to get an opportunity to be on the red carpet. I'm going to get an opportunity to put posts. So it's kind of a win for me, but it's also a win for him because I'm coming to support his film. I'm also putting money and time and energy into coming to his premiere. I'm also, I'm buying the popcorn, I'm buying the drink, I'm filling up the seats, I'm bringing friends and family with me so that we could support Johnny Smith's film. And it helps build the relationship because we are a community and we are a family and we are a group that tries to work together with one another. And when we do that, that pops up in your mind. So the next time that, I might be filming or something, or Johnny might be filming something, I will be right there in his memory catalog, so to speak, in his card catalog of different thoughts of who showed up, who did what, who worked what, who really supported him in these moments and stuff like that. So it becomes kind of a win-win because now you're building a relationship with these different people. You're not going there to, scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. You're not going there with any kind of intention. You're not doing anything like that. You're going in there with the mindset of just being part of a community and supporting one another. You want to get to help one another and you want to see the other person succeed. So you're there to celebrate their success. But like I said, said, it's kind of a win-win because you also unlock all these doors for you to get to work on. And I don't know, it's a good community thing. So if you want to be a production assistant and you want to get into the filmmaking industry, if you want to get this entry level into a studio, into the bigger budget films, or even in the micro budget films, which is where I particularly work at, then that's what you have to do, is just show up, go to these premieres, go to these red carpet events, go to these breakfasts, go to these dinners, go to these things, and network, connect. And it doesn't mean just handing out your business cards, shaking hands with as many people as you can. You know, it's legitimately becoming friends on Facebook and in person, and you have a conversation with these people, you talk to these people, and you truly become friends and supportive with these people, and you will find you'll start moving stuff along. Somebody wanted to know what the difference is between a production assistant and an assistant director, like an AD. And an AD has an entire different set of responsibilities. They're the ones that keeps track of the time. They're the ones that keep track of the scheduling. They're the ones that's like, hey, we're losing daylight right there. They're the assistant director. They're the ones that pretty much takes control over the environment to allow the director to do his job. Oftentimes, they're the ones that kind of wrangles people together, and they're the ones that's, again, time management. They're the ones that's focused on what calls, what places to go. And if you've ever been on set, big or small, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. And so the first AD, they'll be the ones that kind of call people together, or they'll call, they'll be the ones that sometimes, camera rolling, action, they're the ones that calls all that, while the director is literally the DP, which is director of photography. They're the ones focusing on what the shots are. And depending on how big of a budget is, you might have a DP, the director of photography, who is working under, they'll also have a cinematographer. So the director might be watching through a monitor, telling the cinematographer what kind of angles and what kind of shots that he wants, because he knows the direction that he wants to take the video at. But then the cinematographer will be in charge of actually getting the shots the director wants, while the first AD is the one that goes out and kind of make sure everything gets done in time. Your second AD, which was, depending on the budget, is 9 times out of 10 the same thing as a PA in some of the smaller budgets, because you're all in this thing together and you're wearing many different hats, will be the person wrangler. And if you, like I said, if you've ever been on set, there's a lot of hurry up and wait. I can't tell you how many times that I was in a movie or a show where you just sit in the waiting room and you wait for your time or your call time or something like that. When I was on the TV show Nashville, they get ready to shoot a scene and stuff like that, but it's like, hey, we have 30 extras that showed up today, but we only need 5 in this shot, and we need 10 in this shot, and then we'll call the rest of you back. And so while they're shooting with this 5, the other 25 are just sitting there, and you're waiting, by the crafty, you're sitting there eating the cheese balls and eating your bag of chips, and you just wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and then the production assistant, or the second AD, a lot of times a production assistant, will come in there, and they're the ones that wrangle the people together and grab them and move them into the, move them to the first AD, and they'll be the ones that, puts you where. And again, it's about relationship building with a community of different people. What I used to do is I became friends with a lot of these people and help them with a lot of their projects. Like, they might be on a big budget set, like we'd be working on the show Nashville, but the PA might be doing a weekend video at their house. And so I'd volunteer and work on their weekend video. So then, a week or two or a month later or something like that, and we're working on the set of the show, and I might be coming in on as an extra. Well, they know me. They know me personally. They know that I can do what I can do. So they would pick me out of the group and then put me front and center. It was on season 6, episode 4 of the show Nashville. I showed up with a couple of friends and stuff like that, and it was a scene with Hayden Panettiere, and they needed somebody to sit down and talk to her and stuff like that in the scene, and they actually ended up using music over the scene, so there was no audio. It was just supposed to be part of a montage shot where the actors are, laughing and joking and making it look like they're interacting with one another. So instead of me being like one of the people in the background at a table or acting like I'm flipping over a burger at a grill or something like that, I'm actually sitting as close as I am to you right now, as close as I am to this Christmas tree from Hayden Panettiere and one of the other actors, and it was a 4-hour setup, like a turnaround, like they had that shot. So for 4 hours, I just got to hang out with this movie star and just chit-chat, talk about life, talk about jokes. Like, we had a great time. And, that opened up a lot of other doors for me as well. And those kind of opportunities come when you show up, and that's what they really look for. Anyway, and that's kind of the difference of what people do on set. But if you're wanting to become a PA, again, there's different classes and workshops that have those available openings for you if that's a direction that you want to go in. Whether it's, like I said, big budget, low budget, no budget, and then volunteering your time to be an extra set of hands. And that goes back to kind of what I was saying is I'm going to be focusing 2026 mostly on my projects and stuff like that. So I won't be putting a lot of my stuff on a back burner so I can get paid. Instead, I'm going to have a day job working at MYX, which is an auto plant manufacturing place where they design car parts and stuff like that. It's not part of the industry. It does feel like a step back, but at the same time, it's a step, one small step for man, but one giant leap for mankind, because I am stepping back from the role and the necessity of having to take on all these other gigs so I can focus on my movies and my career so I can finish things. Like the Battle of Copper Canyon. It had to have a complete rewrite. It had to do a whole new structure of the script. And we're getting ready, to get ready to do that in a couple of months. But if I'm working on somebody else's film, I'm not going to be able to sit down and take time with that. Blood Moon Massacre. I have a lot of stuff going on with that. I have a convention coming up in July where I'm going to be standing on a panel getting to speak with other filmmakers, and it's almost like imposter syndrome, because it's like, who am I to be the one to get up there at this big conference and speak to so many people about different filmmaking aspects when there's 1,000 other people way more qualified than me. But it's because I've been there. I've actually done it. And I've earned that spot. And so, I don't know. So this year, 2026 is coming up. It's going to be mostly me focusing on my own stuff. So just like many other filmmakers out there, when you start cultivating some ideas, you start cultivating some scripts, you start really sitting down, working on dialogue and scenes, you'd be surprised at how much you develop and then realize, oh crap, the script is just like this movie. Or, oh man, it's just like this movie. I remember one time telling somebody about an idea that I had about a filmmaker. It was a movie about a guy trying to make a movie about a guy trying to make a movie. A movie within a movie within a movie. And I was telling somebody about the concept of it, and they're like, you mean Bowfinger? I'm like, yes, just like Bowfinger. Except it wasn't supposed to be like Bowfinger. It was not going to have anything to do with Bowfinger, but it was just like it. Recently, I came up with a script, well developed, and I was really excited about it. And then we saw a trailer for One Battle After Another, and it's like, the concept, which is kind of this Taken / trafficker that steals this guy's daughter. I was like, that movie's already been made, so now I have to sit down and redo my thing. And so I just want to offer you some encouragement, because every single filmmaker that I know out there does that. It happens sometimes. Your film that you think is so original and so creative that you sit there and you focus on and you start working on happens all the time. True story, and I'm about to let you go, is just like a year or two ago, I developed a script and I spent a lot of time. I worked on the first draft, finished up the second draft. I was very excited about it. And I was so convinced, this is such a good script that I'm about to pitch this to some friends of mine. And they're in Vegas. And I was like, this is right up their alley. They're going to love this. This is the kind of movie that they you could just tell that's what they want to make, but they've never actually made it before. So I was super excited about it. I called him up, and I was going to give him a pitch right then, but I was like, this is so good, I'm going to do it in person. So we just had a normal conversation, talked about some different projects coming up, and then I got ready to book a flight so I could go all the way to Vegas so I could pitch them the script in person. And then lo and behold, as soon as I got ready to do that, they posted a big thing all over Facebook with their crowdfunding campaign where they had just not only finished their script, which was almost exactly identical. Same story, same beats, same title almost. Again, it was just so far right up their alley. I took a lot of what their practices was because I wanted this to be catered 100% directly towards them. I knew that this would be something that they wouldn't say no to. And I was right, because they were already developing something like that. They not only had finished the script, not only had finished the story, but they had also finished building the Indiegogo campaign. They already had in place the perks, and they already created the trailer. This was just their launch. They just dropped it. A big surprise. Turns out, I was like, that's my movie. That's the movie that's the movie I was telling you about. The movie that you're making is the movie that I wanted to sell you. And it happens. Now, it was a little discouraging and stuff like that, but that knew that I was in the right direction. That's not a sign from the universe that you're not original. It's not a sign saying that you suck and that you shouldn't be doing this. In fact, if anything, it's a sign that you're going in the right direction. You know what sells. You know what works. You know what's making. It happens all the time. Again, like I said, I work pretty consistent with about 6 different production companies, and they all send me consistently at least 1 script a week, sometimes more. So on an average, every single year, I read about 60 to 70 scripts, sometimes more, which is a lot of scripts. So if you have a script that you've sent me, it might take me a minute to read it. And to be honest, they all kind of start to morph together after a while. And it's like, which script is yours? And so, I mean, it's just something that happens because I end up reading a lot of scripts. But what I think is funny is like 2 different production companies who have never met each other, have absolutely nothing in common with each other, other than maybe me in the middle, sometimes creates almost the exact same story, the exact same beats, some of the exact same character arcs. I'm not going to name any names, but I have a friend of mine who I went to Full Sail with, and he sends me scripts all the time, and some of his scripts, like, it's like, man, I hate to tell you this, but there's already like 100 different scripts floating out there that's exactly 100% the exact same movie you're trying to make. Now, I don't want to dishearten anybody. So I do, look at the bright side of it, the good side of it, and try to help narrow it up just a little bit. Like, all right, maybe you should do this or you should do that. Give them some, advice, best I can do. And so, but this year, 2026, like I said, I'm going to focus mostly on some of my own work. So this way, it's a project that I can be excited about. Because as a filmmaker, you can become complacent. You can also get burnt out because God knows I'm burnt out. Again, I haven't made a single video until October 14th. And then I made one about my coffee pot not working this morning, which has been out for a couple of days. But it's actually so funny. After making that video, I've had like several people reach out to me saying, hey, I got an extra coffee pot. And there's a reason why I haven't bought me another one because they're not that expensive. I can just go out and get another one. But we're so close to Christmas. Who knows? I might be getting one as a Christmas gift. I don't want to just ruin anybody's Christmas gift. So I'm just kind of staying back, just in case. And if not, who cares? I can make it through. If you watch the video this morning, I can make coffee soup again. It's not a big deal. But I think I figured it out exactly what I'm going to be doing and what I did wrong. So this time, maybe it can be a much, much better experience. But I have to have my coffee. And then, who knows? If I don't get it for Christmas, that's okay. Because either I will go get one, or again, several people have reached out to me. I think literally like 6 or 7 people's like, hey, I got an extra coffee pot. It's like, hold on. Just hold on. But anyway, so 2026, I don't want to be burnt out. I don't want to get burnt out. I don't want to be tired. I don't want to be frustrated. I don't want to be that one filmmaker who is always on somebody else's set talking about the video that I want to make. And because I have so much stuff coming up with the conventions and stuff like that, we've been working on ancillary products like novelization of some of the scripts, t-shirts, hats, hoodies, board games, and all these things are kind of in development right now, so things are kind of floating up in the air, but all these things will be more stuff that's added to the table at these conventions. And it'll also be promo material that I can use to help promote the movies and help promote some of the stuff that is getting ready to come out. And it's also some pretty cool free giveaway, but it'll also be some really cool physical perks that people can either purchase or get, when it comes time for crowdfunding and stuff like that. So, that's pretty much the update on what's going on with Robert Goblet. I am going to try to make sure that I get way more of these videos. I have a lot of stuff that I want to talk about that's going on with the filmmaking industry. I have a lot of advice and stuff I want to talk to people about Actors Access, everything that went on with castingnetwork.com. And there's just a lot of kind of things that's happening. Film Hub's changing. So there's just a lot of stuff out there that I've been wanting to hit, like these topics. Some different stuff's happening with AI. Of course, about the Netflix and Warner Brother merger. But then Paramount swooped in with their big offer and bid. But then they rejected it to go back to Netflix. So there's just been a lot. So again, I've been wanting to make some videos, but the last 2 months have just been crazy busy. I've had a lot going on. I've been working crazy and then chasing kids, and now it's close to Christmas. And so, it's all been good. It's all been good. But, so for 2026, again, my goal is to focus on some of my own scripts. That doesn't mean I'm not going to work on somebody else's project completely, period. But, oh, sorry, I got a kitty up there. But, hey, Kiki, the black cat. Anyway, don't cross my path. Yeah, so a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff is happening, and so I'm actually pretty excited about it. And I'll keep everybody updated, and I will work on more videos and stuff like that. But yeah, and again, I'm not saying I'm not going to work on anybody's stuff, but if the pay is right, or if the perk is right, I may still, stop and work on somebody else's project and stuff like that if it's something I'm passionate about. But I've been doing this consistently since 2014, nonstop. It's 11 years going on 12, where I'm just jump, and run. I want to really focus on certain projects this coming year. So I'm not going to be just jumping at any gun. If I'm really good friends with some people in different casting departments and stuff like that, where normally I'm just running gun. I'm going to help you. I think I'm going to take a little break from all that. So this way I can just consistently work on my own stuff. But, again, that's going to free up a little bit more of my time so I can make these more one-on-one videos and stuff like that, because I have a whole group of different people that I'm kind of mentoring right now as well, and going to be doing a workshop and things with them, connecting different people with photographers and different actors and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of all positive, stuff. But anyway, guys, it's so close to Christmas time. I love you all so very, very, very much. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas. God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful new year and live with passion.